How we doing there, boys and girls? Manthieus here, welcome back to another video. So 10.1.5 is officially out, and we spent most of yesterday working our way through the mini attunement to be able to unlock all of the goodies that this patch has. There's many reasons why you might want to do this, whether you're looking to up your transmog collection, whether you're looking to get access to some rare and ancient revitalized patterns to maybe craft a yet more transmog, or maybe even sell to make some gold. Or of course, there's the rumors that are floating around that were true. We are going to be able to craft some tier 3 transmog that is the very, very sought after, very, very rare, up until this point, only available through the black market auction house. We're going to be able to have access to crafting it again. This isn't going to be a video particularly so much talking about each of those different features, but what I am going to do is I'm going to walk you through the attunement process in as much detail as I can, so you guys can follow along and get access to this. Some of you may remember from when they launched or revitalized, should I say, Zul'Gurub. We had to do a similar thing. We had to do a few things. We had to unlock a couple of achievements before we could go much further, before we'd start finding new things dropping, new NPCs turning up, that sort of thing. The process is the same this time, but it's a little bit more lengthy. I will hopefully take some of my stream footage from yesterday to overlay certain points in this video to help the explanation be a little bit more clearer. But I did collate all of this information into a little document. I will leave a link to this document down below, so you can feel free to use this as your step-by-step if you wish going forward. By all means, please make sure, hit that follow button, hit that like button if you peace out at this point and just take the written version. The YouTube algorithm loves all of your engagement, and of course, so do I, so thank you for that. But let's take a little bit of a look. So we understand what we're going to be doing this for. There's 2 achievements that we're going to be hunting for. We're going to be hunting for the Memory of Scholomance, which will unlock the Memory of Scholomance. Surprise, surprise. This is actually the old school version of Scholomance that we get access to again. Some of you real old school players may know that in Mists of Pandaria, they revitalized this. They changed the layout of the dungeon somewhat. The Memory of Scholomance is the old sort of vanilla version of Scholomance that we get to run through and play with again. It's been a long time, but we have to unlock that first, so that's going to be one of the first things we're going to be doing. And then finally, we need to get the achievement Wards of the Dread Citadel. The process of this is empowering your Argent Dawn commission. This is what will unlock the secrets within Naxxramas. This process will give you access to the new ancient recipes, a couple of new NPCs that are going to sell some crucial components, and more importantly than anything else, it's going to give you access to do some of the playing around with the new tier 3 crafting, and presumably an awful lot of farming. There is going to be quite some effort involved in this, as well as a huge pile of gold if you want those tier 3 appearances. But like I said, let's take a look at the detailed process. So, starting then, the very first thing you're going to need, and this is actually going to be the biggest barrier to entry for a lot of people, and was of great frustration to many people yesterday when this patch launched. You need an item. In fact, the item you need is a toy. Krasnikov's Bag of Horrors. Now, this toy is a rare drop from a rare mob in the heroic version of Scholomance that's been on live for many years now. This ultimately means that not many people have it. I came across huge amounts of people yesterday that were desperately trying to get their hands on this. The process of getting your hands on this is simple. Run Scholomance on heroic on as many characters as you have, and keep your fingers crossed the Dr. Theolan Krasnikov spawns and you can kill him to get his toy. I was not lucky enough to have the toy yesterday, but you will have found out maybe that there's a get out of jail free card here. You only need one person in a party to have the toy. This means that if you can find somebody, a friend or a guild member that has that toy already, or even maybe check the group finder if you're doing this relatively soon, you might be lucky enough to find somebody else that's got the toy that can run you through Scholomance, and you use the toy at a certain point in the process that we'll talk about in a second, and that triggers an NPC to spawn. This is the reason we need this toy. So if you don't have it, find a group with people that do have it, or you're going to need to run the heroic version of Scholomance a few times to get it. But let's not dwell on this too much, as there's lots to go through. So once you have acquired the toy, you run through Heroic Scholomance and you kill Dark Master Grappling. He's the final boss. Once he's dead, once the dungeon is cleared, you go up the stairs to the room behind where the boss spawns, and there should be a little pile of bones, and you should see an NPC called Eva. You can speak to Eva. You use the toy to spawn Eva. Secondly, from there, you can remove the buff that this toy gives you, and then you'll be able to speak to Eva herself, and she gives you a spectral essence. This is a trinket. There is 2 versions of the trinket. If you had the toy yourself, you will get the spectral essence trinket directly. If you did not have the toy, if you joined into a group with somebody that had the toy, you will get the inert spectral essence. For this to be turned into the trinket, we are going to need to combine it with 5 Essence of Undeath and 3 Dark Runes. Running through Scholomance, there's a good chance you've got these in your bags already. Alternatively, you can pick these up off the auction house for, a few gold. They're not going to be too difficult to come by. The trinket is important to us, though. This spectral essence trinket is going to allow us to interact with new NPCs in and around Scholomance, and this is going to be important in the next few stages. Before you leave Scholomance, though, after you've spoken to Eva, there will be one last thing you'll need to pick up from the dungeon. You'll want to head back into the viewing room, and behind one of the bookcases, this is relatively well hidden, so zoom your camera in and do some shimmying around the back of the bookcase. You'll find an item called Eva's Journal. The item is a bind-on pickup item, and it has nothing more than use, perform a ritual. This ritual is something we're going to be working on in the next few stages. In the very bottom left-hand corner of the viewing room is the location of this book. It's easy to miss, but have a dig around, you should find it. The next thing we're going to need to do is perform this ritual. Now, the tooltips in game don't give us much information, but we were able to dig through some of the spells in the game to find out what the spell is and what the reagents are needed for said spell. And we need to go get them. This is going to be the next stage. Eva's femur, we should be able to get from the bone pile when we first originally spoke to Eva. There's a small pile of bones, and one of the bones stands out, is a slightly different color. You can click on that, pick up Eva's femur. Maybe do that before you leave the Scholomance dungeon. From here on, we're going to need 5 different candles. To get these candles, we need to first grab an item. We need to loot an item from the outer world. And then we need to hand that item into a different NPC each time, and they exchange it for a candle. So the first one to get, we're hunting down the Stinky Candle. You can get this by looting the item, the Care Darrow Fountain Water. Directly outside of Scholomance, you may notice a little bit further down the hill, there's this fountain, and on that fountain is a little bucket of water. Click your bucket of water, loot your item, and then you want to take that over to Joseph Dirt, who is outside a small little hut, just on the second layer of the Scholomance. You can hand that item in for your first candle. The coordinates for these, I should probably point out, the fountain is got the coordinates of 6878, and the turn-in NPC is located at 6875. Moving on, the next one we need to get is the tobacco-filled candle. This requires you to loot an item actually within the Stratholme dungeon, so we're going to be navigating to another dungeon here at this point. The item is the undelivered shipment of smokes. This is found in the King's Square within Stratholme, and it's on a little broken cart. Once again, another small little item that's quite easy to miss, but grab your undelivered shipment of smokes, then take that back to the docks outside Scholomance, and you hand it in to a guy, an NPC by the name of Rory. His coordinates are 6375. He will give you your second candle. He will give you your tobacco-filled candle. Moving on, we need the Ghost Warding Candle. This can be found by looting a Trampled Doll. This is located over in the Eastern Plaguelands this time in Darrowshire with the coordinates 3583. The Trampled Doll is next to a meat wagon on the floor behind one of the wheels. Pick this up and then head back to Scholomance once again, and you hand this into an NPC called Sammy, who is located just by the fountain that we got our bucket of water from earlier. The NPC there will trade your Trampled Doll for the Ghost Warding Candle. Next on our list is the Authentic Andoral Candle. This is located within the inn over in Andoral. The coordinates for this are 4369. It's a small little note on the wall. It's actually quite easy to miss, but have a little dig around. It's in the main big room of the inn. Once you've got this item, you can turn it into Magistrate Marduk, who is once again back near the entrance to Scholomance with the coordinates 7074. He will hand over to you the authentic Andorran candle. And the final candle we're going to want to get our hands on is the imported candle. To get this, you have to loot a pitcher, which is also in the inn at Corrin's Crossing over in Eastern Plaguelands with the coordinates 5564. The item name is called The Road Ahead. Loot this and then head back once again to Scholomance to hand this in to Artist Renfrey. 6575 is the coordinates for this dude. She's on the outer edges of the zone. Now, at any point, if you cannot spot one of these NPCs, remember this is why we got the Spectral Essence trinket. Make sure you have that trinket equipped, as without it, you will not be able to see these NPCs. And of course, just a reminder again, the final one we're going to need is Eva's Femur, which can be found within the Scholomance dungeon near Eva. With all of the components in hand, we can now finally complete the ritual and we can get access to the Memory of Scholomance. This time you want to head in towards Scholomance dungeon entrance, but instead of turning left to go to the dungeon entrance, you want to take a right and go into the little room at the back, down some stairs, and it's here where you will be able to do the ritual itself. And after a few moments, you will get the achievement pop up on your screen for the Memory of Scholomance. This actually gives a little platform in the middle. Now you can repeatedly use this going forward to play the old version of Scholomance if you wish. There's some farming opportunities in here, I'm sure, for the smart goblins out there. So, pay attention to where this is. We are going to go into the Memory of Scholomance in one moment, but there's a couple of things we need to do next. This is where the Argent Dawn as a faction comes into play to this. If you are already exalted with the Argent Dawn faction, which I understand many of you probably will not be, because the Argent Dawn was an old school vanilla faction. If you've been a bit of a rep grinder in the past, you might have access to this. Either way, it doesn't matter. But if you were exalted with the Argent Dawn, you want to get your hands on an Argent Dawn commission. If you do not have one of these, considering you may have been given it all the way back in vanilla and may have lost it over time, you can always head back to the Quartermaster for the Argent Dawn over in the Eastern Plaguelands, 8368 coordinates on that, and tell him you need another one, and he will give you another one. There is a get out of jail free card here, though. If you are not exalted with the Argent Dawn, do not worry. What you will need to do, though, if you are not exalted, is buy yourself, or of course farm up, a Righteous Orb, a single Righteous Orb, and 4 True Silver Bars. This will give us access to a cracked Argent Dawn commission that is available to us within the Memory of Scholomance. But like the trinket earlier, if you don't have the required items beforehand, you have to use some materials to fix something first. This is not too much of a problem. Now feel free to head into the Memory of Scholomance. This is the old school version. Have a little poke about, kill a few things, kill a few bosses, loot a few items. There's some fancy, that you may come across some new items in the Memory of Scholomance that have seemingly been lost in time. The life-stealing enchant, I think, was one that dropped for me that has not been in the game for a long, long time at this point. So some other little secrets are hidden in there as well. But as you're navigating through it and you eventually get to the Rattlegore boss, this is where you'll be able to pick up your cracked Argent Dawn commission. If you do not have your regular Argent Dawn commission, as you go down the stairs, it's in a little bone pile to the left. I was not able to get video footage for this for the fact that I already had my Argent Dawn commission, so I wasn't able to loot it, but you may need to know where this is. Get your cracked Argent Dawn commission, repair it. This will become important in a minute. Continue through the dungeon from here, though. Once you've killed all of the main bosses in the dungeon, you will spawn the final boss, Dark Master Grandling. Before you kill this boss, really, really important stage here. Before you kill this boss, make sure you equip your Argent Dawn commission. If you do not have it equipped, you will not get the items that you need going forward. Pew pew the boss, get him killed, get him down, and you should pick up an item called the Dark Master's Scourge Stone. This instantly starts a quest. This is a quest to go hand it back in to a guy named Duke Nicholas Zeverenhoff, a probably butchered that name, but he's located all the way back at Light's Hope Chapel over in Eastern Plaguelands. The coordinates for that is 7653 are the coordinates for him. Hand this in, and this is one of the first steps in the process of being able to get access to some of the new stuff, realistically. This guy becomes an NPC who will sell you a few bits and pieces, and we can look at this in a little bit more detail, but maybe check to see what he sells you for now. Continuing on, though, with the unlock process, we now want to head over to the Stratholme dungeon. We've already been here once for the tobacco box, so hopefully you're aware to where it is now. You're going to need to do a couple of interesting things that are quite time sensitive in Stratholme. So at this point, make sure you're not going to have any distractions for like at least 10 minutes, I would suggest. We actually failed this timed event like a couple of times in trying to do this first time through. It is quite tight on time. I was lucky I had a fellow streamer helping me run through it, so we were able to combo it a bit. If you're doing this solo, it's going to be quite tight on time. Maybe not waste too much time killing random mobs and looting random stuff. Just stick to the main goal here. The first thing you're going to need to do, though, when you get into Stratholme is you're firstly going to need to find some Stratholme holy water. You find this by the supply crates that are knocking about in the zone. You can pick up your Stratholme holy water. It's worthwhile picking up a few of these. You, for the entire process, are probably going to need 3 or 4 of these, so pick up a few of them and don't delete any spares. They're going to be useful later. Secondly, you are going to need to find and kill some of the eyes of Naxxramas. These are random ghosts that pop up when you are in close proximity to them. Kill those and they're going to offer you an item called the Ward of Naxxramas. This is a small little on-use item. Don't use it yet. Just keep it in your bags. You're going to need this in a minute. Continue to navigate your way through Stratholme and head all the way to the Crusaders Square of the living side of Stratholme. This is where you want to use your Ward of Naxxramas. When used, it's going to start a 2-minute debuff, but what it actually does is it spawns a portal in the southern little part of this zone, and you run over to this portal. You can't seemingly do anything on it, but this is where you douse it with your Stratholme holy water. Use a holy water on the portal. It takes your 2-minute buff, removes it, and provides you with a new 5-minute buff. This 5-minute buff now requires, this is the time sensitive bit. This is where you need to run all the way through the rest of the Stratholme dungeon, all the way through the undead side of Stratholme, killing all of the bosses on the way, even as far as killing Rivendare. Now, some of you may have done this farming the mount in the past, so you may know the route pretty well. Kill all of the bosses on the way. Make sure you kill all of the mobs behind the bosses in the small little rooms. This is another mistake we made running through this. Navigate all the way through. Kill Rivendare. Loot your mount if you happen to be super lucky and don't already have it. Then you'll notice that if you go to the the old Nax raid entrance portal just to the south of where Rivendare is, you will see a hand of Naxxramas chilling behind a grate. You should also have then an extra action button pop up, and you can desecrate this hand of Naxxramas. This will give you some flavor text to have a little bit of a read through, but what this ultimately has done for us is unlocked the ability to talk to a new NPC where we can continue our journey. Once he's done, nothing particular will happen on screen other than it turn into a pile of dust. This is where you can safely leave the dungeon now, and you want to head back to Light's Hope Chapel. In fact, you want to head slightly south of Light's Hope Chapel. You want to head down to the ruins of the Scarlet Enclave by the big gates. You'll find an NPC by the name of Archmage Angela dos Santos. Her coordinates, if you're looking for her, are 72, 74. She does seem to have a couple of locations, so have a little bit of a look around the area. But if everything has worked well, you should now be able to speak to her, tell her of your story, and she will give you a new quest called the Dread Citadel Naxxramas. This is where the story changes slightly, dependent on your reputation with the Argent Dawn. If you were already exalted with the Argent Dawn, you should be able to hand this quest straight in and move on with your merry ways. If not, you might need to get exalted with the Argent Dawn. Now, there's a couple of ways we can do this. We did find out doing so that if you are not already exalted with the Argent Dawn, but you are on another character on your account somewhere, they seem to have made the Argent Dawn reputation account wide. So if the character you've been doing this on is not you know, if it's not your character that has the reputation, log on to them and it will sort of like accredit your account with the reputation. You should then be able to go back and hand this quest in for free. Alternatively, you need to get some reputation with the Argent Dawn, and at certain points you need to provide some materials as well. I will leave a link down below to a comment on Wowhead that gives a nice little overview of how to get your reputation with the Argent Dawn. I could do an entire video on the reputation grind for the Argent Dawn, but I don't think it makes sense here. I'll, you know, leave you the information elsewhere. From this point on, after handing in that quest, we will finally, and after 20 minutes of the video, be able to head into Naxxramas. Within Naxxramas, in fact, let's talk about how we get to Naxxramas. Down, obviously, navigating all the way to Northrend to go into Naxxramas the natural way, and nobody got time for that. But luckily, there's a little portal. There's a bonus portal that's was found yesterday, and it gives you a quick access to Naxxramas. It's in the Eastern Plaguelands, and it's located at 3523. You click this little portal, and it'll take you straight into Naxxramas. Really handy, as we're going to be bouncing between Naxxramas and Light's Hope Chapel a fair few times. Use this little portal, get into Naxxramas, and of course at this point your natural incentive is to run off and start killing things. But my recommendation here is to go straight into the military quarter and loot an item that is in a cage. It's pretty straightforward, pretty obvious to see, but it's Omniron's second handbook. This is an epic item that you pick up. This starts a quest, and this is going to unlock one of the NPC vendors that's going to supply us with a bunch of transmog recipes for our professions. At this point, I would probably take that book out and I would go hand that in, as handing this in will unlock pages within Naxxramas as well, which helps us, pages of that book, which gives us access to more recipes. If you want a quick portal back to Light Hope's Chapel, near the entrance to Naxxramas, they've added a little portal, so you don't need to leave Naxxramas the natural way. You can use this portal and zip between Light's Hope Chapel relatively quickly. If you head back to Light's Hope Chapel in the actual cathedral building itself, you'll find Master Craftsman Omniron, and he will now, after speaking to him, become an NPC vendor, and he will start selling you some patterns for your profession. Upon introducing yourself, there's one pattern, there's not a lot there, but what you will be able to do when traversing Naxxramas is find pages of this book, and you go back and you hand in those pages of the book, and this is what will unlock more and more recipes for you over time as you find more and more of these pages. There is actually an achievement in game that you can use to track which pages you found and which ones you haven't. There's about like 15, 16 of them, it looks like, in total, with the achievement name putting Wilmhelm out of business if you want to track this for yourself. Back into Naxxramas we go, though, from here. Our next thing that we're going to need to do to unlock the final NPC vendor, the vendor that holds all of the goodies as far as we're concerned in regards to the tier 3 stuff, we're going to need to get access to this NPC. Before we can get access to him, we need to make a grappling hook. It's called the makeshift grappling hook. This is made in 3 parts. The 3 parts are really simple, really straightforward to get, and they're all contained within Naxxramas itself. Firstly, we need the Construct's hook, we then need the Abomination's chain, and thirdly, we need Feralina's sewing kit. Now, the chain, you need fishing. In any slime pool within Naxxramas, do some fishing, you'll get the Abomination chain. Only took me a couple of casts, should be pretty quick and easy to get. Secondly, we need Feralina's sewing kit. No surprises here, it drops off the boss named Feralina. She's located in the Arachnid Quarter. She'll give you the sewing kit. And thirdly, the Constructor's hook is attached to one of the large canisters of sludge that's over in the Construct Quarter. Grab all 3 of these items, combine them together, and you'll get yourself your makeshift grappling hook. This is an on-use item. This is an account-wide item, which is also very nice. So just use this, and then from now on, any of your characters will also be able to use some of the little grappling points that are located in and around Naxxramas. With the grappling hook made, with the grappling hook completed, this is where we can finally actually start getting access to Zakit's Skull Smash. But we also do need a few materials first. There's a little There's a little grappling hook mini game that we have to go through to be able to get access to him. It's like 3 or 4 jumps. It's not particularly difficult. But before we go, my suggestion is you grab a few items if you don't already have them. You are going to need 20 Invader's Scourge Stones. These will have been dropping for you from the bosses in Scholomance, in Stratholme. There's a good chance you have a handful of these in your bags already, especially if you were farming to get like in the early days. You're going to need 5 Corruptor Scourge Stones. These only drop off the bosses in Naxxramas, so they are quite limited. There's about 15 of those you can get a week. You're going to need 3 Dark Runes. These Dark Runes you can get from the Memory of Scholomance or more easily the Auction House. And of course 1 Black Coffee, which is a vendor sold item that you can get in some of the capital cities, or once again my recommendation, buy it for like 2 silver off the Auction House. Don't waste your time running around the world picking up random little items that are so very easily available on the Auction House. With those items in hand though, it's time to do the little mini game. You want to head into the Thaddeus boss room and head up the left-hand side platform. Feel free to kill Thaddeus first, get him out of the way. Head up into the Thaddeus room on the left-hand side platform. You can look up to your left, and on one of the platforms, you'll see your first little grappling point. You do a couple of grapples, bish, bash, bosh, jump your way through. I'll leave a little video to the grappling sequence. Somebody's done a nice little video for that if you want the exact route, but we were able to figure it out within about 3 minutes. It's not too difficult. Eventually, you'll get yourself to the NPC who is lying there dazed, fast asleep, called Zackit Skull Smash. You can prod him, you can poke him, you can even bash him with a bone, and it does nothing. This is where we need our Stratholme Holy Water again. This is why I told you to grab a couple of them. You douse him in Stratholme Holy Water and he wakes from his slumber and is not best pleased that you've woke him up, to be fair, but he's a grumpy goblin at the end of the day. He's going to give you a quest. He's going to give you a quest that will give you your first piece of tier 3, which is very generous, Blizzard, although we'll find out why it's not quite so generous in a minute. He's going to give you your first piece of tier 3, admittedly the bracers, so not super, it's not like a chest piece or shoulders or anything. He only is going to give you the bracers, an item that you can barely see anyway. But this is why we need the materials. If you were proactive and you brought the materials with you already, hand them over. Otherwise, once you've had access to him, go get those materials and bring them back and complete this quest. Once you've completed his quest, instead of having to do the grappling minigame every time to get up to him, he will relocate himself nicely to the beginning of the entrance. If you check what he has to sell, this is where you'll find that he has lots of goodies. He has the Gamba rolling of random items to hopefully get the items that you need for tier 3. We'll talk about this more in other videos. This was just merely on how to unlock all of this stuff. There are some patterns, there are some slime covered patterns to maybe buy up to get yourself some of the ancient patterns, either to complete your own collection or to sell on the auction house. Or whatever. This is at the point where you are done with the attunement process. All of this is now fully account-wide for you. You should be able to have access to all of these new NPCs on any of your characters you so choose. And from this point, you'll probably very quickly realize that the play is farm Scourge Stones. Make sure you have your Argent Dawn trinket equipped. In fact, even on your ults, you don't need it. You will just get Scourge Stones from what I've been informed. You're going to gather up Scourge Stones, you're going to kill bosses, you're going to run Stratholme, you're going to run Scholomance on multiple toons, for as long as you need, gather up hundreds and hundreds of Scourge Stones, convert them into the currencies you need to buy all your new goodies. But you have everything now. That's everything that you need to get up and running. You only need to do this process once. Once it's done once, it will be fully unlocked for your entire account and you should be good to go. But this has ended up being a very long video, a lot longer than I expected it to be, so I will leave it there for this video, boys and girls. If you've made it all the way to the end, please give the video a big thumbs up. It really does help the channel. And of course, consider subscribing if you're new around here. The link to this document, once again, is in the description down below, along with another couple of resources that I will leave you that will be handy in this process as well. But I've been Manthieus. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace.